Hello, Brobs. This is New Book Arrivals number 233. And let's get started. I thought this was a biography, The Life and Times of Rowan Daly, but it turns out to be a historical fiction topic, which I really hate, just because so many of these books are geared to look like a actual history book. But the book, I guess I could have opened it and looked and saw where it said fiction, but that's a lot of work for me to do. But it does hold interest for me since I have a book on the so-called pack horse librarians who used to ride into rural areas and deliver library books to poor folks that could not reach the library during mainly the Great Depression. And I think this is based out of Kentucky, where I have a book from Berea College, I believe it is, where it has the stamps and stuff from being a library, a horse. I can't remember. I guess they're called pack librarians. Yeah, I have a book from that. So this has some importance to me, but now that I know that it's a novel, less. Martin Heidegger, Poetry, Language, Thought, translated by Albert Hofstadter. Did not know that Heidegger wrote about poetry at all, but now I know. Or art, for that matter. Just thought he was a regular philosopher, but he goes into the arts. Like the cover. I mean, it's kind of cheesy, these little noodle-like things, but I like the cover. It was $1, but same with this one. But I got it. The Dress Diary, Secrets from a Victorian Woman's Wardrobe, Kate Strasden. I probably will sell this since it has some value. And it's rather new. $20.23. If I can get some money for it, I will sell it for $10, and that will have paid for most of these books that I bought. Christ the Lord, The Road to Cana, a novel by Anne Rice. I don't think I looked to see if there was an autograph in here, but it's always possible with Anne Rice. No, there isn't. Dedicated to her son, Christopher. Yeah, that goes to my Anne Rice collection, which I've never read a single word of. The Diary of a Bookseller, Sean Bythel. I've decided I'm going to start picking these books up. If I ever open a bookstore, I'll need a bunch of these. The bookseller, the librarian, that kind of crap. Plus, I think it has some value. Looks to be an English edition. Just because it's maybe not. Usually it says that, yeah, and there it is. £8.99, as they would say. For some reason, I found a bunch of books today that had they were UK editions. Didn't get most of them, but there were quite a few. So there must have been an expatriate living here who donated a bunch of books. The History of the Vikings, Children of Ash and Elm by Neil Price. It's probably another fiction book, but I did not look in there. I just assumed, again, it was history. 2022. I don't know anything about the book. I assume it's about the history of the Vikings, but I could be wrong. Yes, it purports to be a nonfiction. There you go, history. The Viking Age saw an unprecedented expansion of the Scandinavian peoples into the world. As traders and raiders, explorers and colonists, they ranged from eastern North America to the Asian steppe. But for centuries, the Vikings have been seen through the eyes of others, distorted to suit the taste of medieval writers, Victorian imperialists, Nazis, and more. Strange True Stories of Louisiana. Original and unabridged by George W. Cable. This is obviously a reprint, and had I not a small collection of approximately 10 books on New Orleans, I would not have purchased this, but since I do, and it was only 50 cents, I grabbed this. I'm sure at the time there was mostly stories from New Orleans, but I could be totally wrong. Anyway, it's a historical text and not just a modern bullshit ghost story book. In the Garden of the Righteous, the heroes who risked their lives to save Jews during the Holocaust. Probably wouldn't have got this book, except that I don't know why I got it. 2023, that's why I got it. It's a rather newer one. As I've stated previously ad infinitum, I'm not in the habit of buying books on the Holocaust or Nazis just because there's so many of them. And I see them regularly. I mean, they're everywhere. Not against them, but I just don't. I mean, there's oversaturation, and I just think it's just a crowded field. John Paul Sartre, Arthur C. Danto, Modern Masters, edited by Frank Kermode. This book looks mostly unread, unless they were a careful reader, but as you can see, most mass market paperbacks don't stay in this shape where you can make a V out of them. They usually collapse and go flat at the spine from a break. Don't know what year this is, probably 60s. 75, modern. Probably not worth much. I paid $1 for it. Just because at the library where I go, that's near the bookstore, not bookstore, but the thrift store where I go to, they have like a self-pay, so I usually don't have singles, and I only had one tonight, so I used the 5, so obviously I was forced to buy 5 books or go request change, and I'd rather just buy 5 books. Everyday Magic, Spells and Rituals for Modern Living. This is another book I got at that library. And you can imagine. There was another book by some woman named Tatiana, but it was a hardcover and it had a black cat on the front cover. They wanted $2 for that, so I just went with the dollar books just because. I looked it up. If it would have been worth $20, I would have grabbed it, but it was only worth about $5 or $6. So paying $2 for it, not my idea of a good investment. This probably is worth about 30 cents, so the dollar I paid for it probably is not going to be recovered either. Shrine of the Little Flower, Parish Pilgrimage, 100th Anniversary Celebration, Lisieux, France. I believe this is the one that's in Royal Oak, Michigan. Yeah, National Shrine of the Little Flower. Obviously, it has some kind of ties to overseas. I believe this is where Father Charles Coughlin preached out of. And I've accumulated a handful or so of books about Coughlin, and my chair sounds like I'm farting, so. Yeah, this is just a memorial keepsake kind of thing, but I only paid 50 cents for it. See if they mention Coughlin. No, they don't. And this is a yearbook from Lawrence Tech. Presenting the 1956 L book. This is a technology college that's in, I think, Southfield, Michigan. It'd be crazy if there was a... They have a football team there? At Larry Tech, they have a bowling team. They have a basketball team. I don't know if there was any famous... I'm sure there's some famous people from this college. It's an engineering school, more or less. Probably sell this, but I might keep it. Don't know what to do with it. If it's worth a lot, I'll sell it, just because I doubt I'm going to need it for research. Wonder how much it's changed over the years. I know that the area is built up now, so it doesn't look nothing like this. At least I think this school's still in existence. What did that say? Wayne, Michigan? Unistrut. All right, nice. Phi Kappa. Opsilon. Silson. Epsilon. Opsilon. So yeah, there's a yearbook. Northwoods, Daniel Mason, a novel. A recent novel, and some nurse lady in the store told me it looks very interesting and asked me if I was a quick reader. I was like, no, it takes me months to read a book. I didn't tell her that I read on this channel, but I do. It's the only time I read, really, except for Walpole's Castle of Otranto. This book I'll probably sell because it has value, and I'll never get around to it. And I'll probably never open a bookstore, so by the time I do, this book will be obsolete in terms of purchasability. Alcatraz from Inside, Jim Quillen. I'm very certain I have this book, but this one is signed to Ray. Greetings, Jim Quillen. Number 586, Alcatraz. And I also believe the other copy I have also is signed by this guy. But obviously I'll sell the better copy if it's worth anything online, and keep this one that's kind of battered. I have a small collection of prison books, of which I sold the most valuable one, which was a 1920s booklet from Sing Sing. But yeah, I'll eventually sell these prison ones just to make more room. This book I bought last week for, I think, 99 cents. Yes. It actually came to $1. Visionaries, Mystics, and Stigmatists. Or is it Stigmatists? Down Through the Ages by Bob and Penny Lord. Stigmatism or astigmatism is interesting to me. I don't think it's a paranormal sort of thing, but who knows, maybe it is. Still interesting. St. Catherine of Bologna. Or is it Bologna? Listen to that wind. From the library of Paul Monat, Inkster, Michigan. Train. She's a stigmatist. Veronica Giuliani. I wonder if she's related to Rudy. She died in 1720s. So I doubt it, but you never know. Maybe Rudy's been alive for 200 years too. All right, that's all. I got more books to show, so I'm going to end this here. Goodbye, bruv. Goodbye.